Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Well, before I get started, don't pay too much attention to the image behind me. It's just there as a separate thread through my talk, its own poetic symbol, as it were. Before I get started, I really want to thank LeRosey for inviting me here, and the wonderful team that are invisible, but that have made this possible. I'm going to be talking to you today about a very strange and slightly difficult idea. And I'm going to find a way to break it down for you. But before I do that, I would like us to do something together. Are you with me? Yes. That was not very enthusiastic. Yes. I'm going to ask the question again. Are you with me? Yes. This is a relatively new hall, and I'd like us to spiritualize it. Yes? So that after we've left, this hall will remember that we have been here. So, I'd like you all with me 3 times. I know I'm using up my time. I'm not worried about it. Don't you be worried about it. I'd like you all with me 3 times to intone a famous Indian mantra that goes, Om. So, 1, 2, 3. Om. That's not really good. I want to hear it all the way so that the roof hears it. 1, 2, 3. Oh. Okay, this 3rd time, we need to take the roof off. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much. Now, that sound introduces me perfectly into my subject. And I'll be talking about the 2 stories. The 2 secret stories that are central to our lives. I'm a storyteller, and I'm fascinated by stories. Before I tell you about these 2 stories, I want to say that we are stories. We're born into stories, and we're born from stories. We're born into a world, a sea, an ocean of stories. Almost everything we do is a story. Even when we're asleep, we're living stories. If someone is in a coma, they're still in a story. I would say story is a perpetual consciousness of reality. I would say story has a profound impact on reality itself. I believe that story changes reality. There are 2 great stories that run our lives. The first is the public story that we tell about ourselves. This could take the form of the goals we want to achieve. It could take the form of the way in which we introduce and project ourselves to people. You may say, oh, I'm a poet, I'm a butcher, I'm a tailor. I like running, I like walking, I like taking photographs. I'm interested in books and I'm interested in libraries. That's one story, that's your public story. But there's another story, more powerful, sometimes more insidious, and I believe it's that story that is actually the deep shaper of our lives. I call it our secret story. It is a story that is embedded in our consciousness, embedded in our psyches. And the reason why it is a strange story, a difficult story, is because most of the time we are not even aware of it. It's almost as if we have this separate machinery of storytelling deep inside us. But we've embedded it there, one way or another. There are nations that say they're one kind of people, but actually things they do contradicts this public image that they give of themselves. There are nations that speak about fairness and justice, and yet their police force treat foreigners badly the first opportunity they get. There are individuals who want to write novels. They buy paper, they create a secret space for themselves, they do all the research, and they sit down diligently every day to write. And yet, a year later, 2 years later, 3 years later, they haven't written what they set out to write. This secret story, I believe, either sabotages our public story or it strengthens it. Every one of us is wandering around with a secret story that we're not aware of. We may give the impression of being very confident, but when it comes to a crisis, it's that secret story, not the confident public story. It's the secret story that takes over. That's why sometimes individuals behave in ways that are contradictory to themselves. It's why nations sometimes surprise us with their deeds and their actions. A very good recent example of the way in which a secret story can reveal itself in the public story of a nation is the referendum in Britain recently. One of the reasons why a lot of people were surprised by Brexit was because it was so unexpected. Today is, as you know, the kind of anniversary of the gunpowder plot. That too was a secret story. I'm fascinated by secret stories because they're going on inside us all the time. How did they get there? How did they get planted in us? Who planted it? How can we go through our lives intending to do things, and yet when it comes to the most important moment, something stops us. We stop ourselves. We sabotage ourselves. I know of nations who would love to be great and successful. I come from such a nation. And yet, at a crucial moment, we go backwards. Why is that? This secret story, which I call the unconscious story, and I don't want you to think about Freud or anything like that, is a story that we tell ourselves about ourselves. And I believe that unless we change that secret story, our public stories will never achieve the possibilities that we would most desire and most dream of. So when you see people who want to run 100 miles or 10 miles, and they train every day, when you see people who want to change the world in some way, and they do everything visible to go about it, we always have to ask the question, have you dealt with your secret story? How does it manifest itself? I've noticed people who've changed their jobs, changed their relationships, changed their marriages, changed their countries. But the obstacles that dog their lives follow them through these changes. You can change your nation, change your marriage, change where you live, change your dress. You can stop wearing a beret and start wearing a hat. But that secret story, until it is deeply and truthfully confronted, will still go on running your life. How many of you here have this sense of this secret story that I'm talking about? Very, very reluctant minority. And it's not surprising that it's such a minority because we live on the public side of ourselves. Our dreams are mysterious to us. there is nobody more mysterious to us than ourselves. We are layered with mystery and strangeness. When I meet someone who says, "Oh, I know who I am, I know what I do, I know myself," I think to myself, well, we'll see what conditions reveal about your self-knowledge. For me, the journey of life is the journey of discovering the first great story I wanted to talk to you about. And that, I believe, is the story that we came here with. I believe we came here onto this planet with another great secret story. You could call that the secret intention, the higher goals, the higher dreams, the best realizations of our lives. The thing is, we get older, we go to school, we get educated, we get a job, we get married, we have kids. And somewhere along the line, we forget this original secret story of how we really wanted to be, how we really wanted to live this life. Occasionally, we get glimpses of it. There are people who glimpse this great secret story early, people like Mozart, who began composing at the age of 6. Or people like Einstein, who here in Switzerland, at a patent office, discovered his great capacity for relativity. But the rest of us, we go through life with glimpses. Robert Louis Stevenson said, "The first important thing in life is to discover what it is you want to do." I think discovering what you want to do is that first great secret story. The other sabotaging secret story is what we internalize, and that prevents us realizing our truest and greatest dreams. I think the ideal is when our conscious story has become so powerful that it has become our secret sabotaging story. So that we carry within us, if you like, not a virus of fear, but a virus of light. I want to end this talk by saying that I think one of the most important things we should do is to look deeply within ourselves for these two great stories that we carry within us. The great dream, the great hope, the great promise that we brought here to this planet, and that other niggling, doubting, self-sabotaging story that prevents us realizing our true possibilities, and to find a way to harmonize them. Thank you very much.